Greetings, Moonlight citizens. Your man, the Moon, the Moonlight King here, with the Moonlight Kingdom reviews, and we will be reviewing in this episode the 2022 sci-fi movie. I want to say sci-fi horror, but it's more sci-fi body horror. But I'll just get into it right now. Crimes of the Future. And to be clear about something, I made this review. I had to dig this out of the old archives. I made this review back in 2022, you believe it or not. Oh, yeah, years ago. It's been sitting somewhere gathering. It got lost in the shuffle, okay? It's got lost in the shuffle. It's been gathering dust. I watched this Viggo Mortensen movie way back when. Viggo Mortensen, Kristen Stewart, leaseydoux. A bunch of. This movie's got quite a roster of pretty good actors in it. It's directed by Cronenberg, so I think David Cronenberg. Yeah. I'll get into that. I wanted to review this way back when. I remember it was way back when because I was like, I saw this movie at like 3 in the morning. So, and I wrote this down as I was like watching it. So, bear with me on that. I hadn't yet got into the groove that I normally do now. So, if things don't feel like they normally would, like for instance, there's no background on the movie written down, there's no anything, and I didn't want to like go back and, you know, add, add like feelings and whatever on things that I notice now, or, I don't know, change some of the verbiage I use. So, bear in mind, everything I say from this point on is from what I wrote down back in 2022. So here we go. In three, two, one. There was a dude with his mouth and eyes sewn shut and a set of ears all over his upper body while he danced to freaking techno music. This, just for me, at least raises all kind of questions. Like, how does he put on the shirt? Like, how does this man put on a shirt or a hat or pants? Or, okay, he didn't have ears on his legs, but again, like, how does he put on a shirt? Also, what am I watching? What the heck am I watching? Damn. Scott Speedman kept popping up at random points after the opening of the movie, where his wife straight up flatlined their son after she saw the kid eating a plastic bin. The dude kept popping up in scenes, and I was just left thinking, is this guy gonna do something? Or is the camera just gonna keep cutting back to him for no reason? He did do something eventually when Viggo Mortensen's character was by himself. He approached him and he asked him to do an autopsy on his son as part of his next show. Viggo Mortensen's character Saul has a zipper carved into his stomach by this dude who wants him to be part of an inner beauty pageant. That's right, folks, an inner beauty pageant. And at about 55 minutes in the film, leaseydoux says surgery is the new sex before opening that zipper. And I am not. She opens the zipper, and I'm going to keep this as PG friendly as I can. Oral. She gives oral satisfaction to the opening. Again, what the hell am I watching? So Saul is an undercover cop. It's revealed that Saul is an undercover cop deeply embedded in this weird body art world. And he reports to this other cop about what he finds, like his handler per se. He goes to see the woman who flatlined her kid in the beginning. It turns out that the kid ate plastic on a regular basis and had this drool that came out of him that would dissolve anything plastic, which is what allowed him to digest that. And it's what made her want to take him out because she didn't think he was human anymore. She didn't see him as a person anymore. There was a moment when Saul was struggling to choke down food. It's been a recurring thing throughout the movie. Like, Saul is like really, that's Viggo Mortensen's character. He's really struggling to like choke down food. And then leaseydoux' character brings him one of these synthetic chocolates that all these plastic eaters have been eating since he's now struggling to eat normal food. And it'll show because he's one of the plastic eaters now, or it'll flatline him since it's taught to everyone else. The plastic eaters can only eat the synthetic, they're the only ones who can eat the synthetic chocolate. So if you're one of them, you can eat it, no problem. If you're a regular person, you'll like choke and seize up and flatline. So that's the end of that. It ends up not ending his life, but right at that moment, and this is right towards the end of the film, right at that moment, when the camera was focused in on his face as he was swallowing it, I was just thinking, and we see Viggo Mortensen's eyes open up as a smile spreads. I thought to myself, this would be the perfect, shot. It'd be perfect if the movie just ended right now, right as he's smiling off into the distance. And it seems that the directors are the same thing, because right at that spot, the film ends. This movie is like the Johnny Cash song Hurt, especially the line about, I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. And that, ladies and folks, was that was what I wrote down while I was reviewing this movie. That's not a proper review, but it was what I wrote down back in the day. Like I said, doesn't have quite the groove. There's no story beats, and because back then I wasn't doing spoiler reviews, and this movie's way back in 2022, so that was essentially my review of the film. And I know it has some plot details. There's a whole lot that isn't there. There's not much in terms of themes. There's no discussion on performances or, the story overall, and just the nature of what the movie's trying to do with the statement of surgery is the new sex, or the background of the world the movie's set in. So if you want to watch that movie, that is the closest I can give you to a non-spoiler review. That what I said way back when. Now we can get into like the spoiler territory in regarding this film, because my thoughts now, years later, because I wrote that back in 2022, it is now 2026. So here's what I think now. Crimes of the Future is a good movie. If I had to give it a rating, it would be a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed that movie. It was well written. The world was just uniquely weird in a way that it didn't feel like anything else. The horror was entirely in people's bodies, like as it related to the human body and what it was capable of, and just all the very, like, just the stuff that was like, I don't know, the H.R. Geiger vibe of all the tools and the drawings and just the world that the movie was set in. That was what I got a lot of joy looking at all that. Because, like I said, this movie is uniquely weird. There are plenty of movies that'll be weird for weirdness' sake, or weird just to be different. But this movie was uniquely weird in the sense that there was no movie before or since that is like it. There's no movie before or since that I can look at and say, oh yeah, this is just like Crimes of the Future. And the movie does a good job with the hook of surgery is the new sex. Surgery is the new sex. Because the world they live in, people don't feel like they used to. People don't, experience life the way they used to. And they only experience things in extremes. And the most extreme thing that can go is like surgical, under the skin. On the surface, beauty isn't what it is now. What we look at as beauty in the present day isn't what it is in this world. Like, now that things are more under the skin, more superficial pursuits are kind of done away with, but not entirely. Like, there are like people who make surgical alterations. Addiction to surgical addiction is still very much a thing. And you had that guy who was doing this art show where he was dancing, and this performance art show, and he had ears all over his body. You had Melissa Barrera's character coming in with like scarring on her face. Not, it's like cosmetic scarring in a sense. If like, yeah, that's what like that's what, as far as I can call it. That's basically what it is. It's this, like, I don't know, I can't really explain it. She had these scars and markings on her face that she willingly got. This woman didn't like disfigure herself or anything, but she made these alterations on her face. She looked like the creature from the Black Lagoon. That's, I think it's Miss Barrera. I'm not entirely sure. I just look at that woman and I very much think like, oh, like that could be Miss Barrera on screen right now. Because I didn't know who that was when I saw it. That was just a woman. I hadn't yet seen Vita. Great show, by the way. You should really check that out. I'm not going to review that, but I'm telling you, it is a great show. I'll give it thumbs up on this end. But yeah, so yeah, the world it's in is uniquely weird. Viggo Mortensen's character and his condition, it's like, oh, you grown, like his body is like a factory, and it's producing it's producing like new tumors and new organs, which he then the surgical theater in like the hospital, the places where they have surgery is called the theater, and in this world, it really is like a theater because people come here to, in the sense that people go to it to watch like surgeries happen. They watch people get cut open and parts of their body being removed. And Mortensen's character is a great artist. It's their modern day art because the with the way things have evolved and the way things are like given that people only feel in extremes now. And that I think there was even a scene where Viggo Mortensen's character was walking down the street and he saw this man and a woman in like a shady alley and they weren't getting it on. Like the dude was like, you know, taking a blade to the woman. It wasn't like he was robbing her or anything. He was getting off on it. It's that's the world that they lived in. People only feel in extremes. Like, and you got these people walking out in casual clothes in like the middle of the night. So I'm guessing, oh, these the people are feel the world that they're in is in such an extreme that people don't feel cold like they used to. They don't feel pain like they used to. Everyone's pain tolerance is way up there to the point that surgery, whether cosmetic or physical or whatever, is the new art form. That it can be made such a new art form. It's yeah, it's not. And the plot about the new breed, the fact that this has led to a new kind of person who can who has like a stomach that works kind of like a fly, and that they have this ooze that they take out that has some breakdown and stuff, and that you have like a little kid who has like an extreme case of what is it called, pica. Yeah, he's like eating plastic, and there's a conspiracy to try and cover this up. It's just, yeah, it's very, there's a whole lot going on. It's not just, oh, look at the gross stuff people do with their bodies, or it's not necessarily just done for shock and awe. This movie does have a lot to say, not just about, the world that it inhabits, but it does reflect a lot about, what our world might look like if something like this were to happen. If we weren't satisfied with the things we got now and we only received satisfaction as we pushed to the extremes and they got more and more extreme with each time, it might be headed to a world like this. You would imagine this is some sort of post-apocalypse or some huge calamity has happened, but no. Even the technology they have isn't that far removed. I mean, it is futuristic, but not so futuristic that it becomes outlandish. So, yeah, Crimes of the Future, man. It's what a movie. I'll give it. There's a lot to give the movie. I give this movie a 7 out of 10, and it's a well deserved. It's a well deserved 7 out of 10 in that I really enjoyed it, but I'm never gonna see it again. You know what I mean? There's nothing. There's nothing in this movie where I'm like, yeah, let me see that again. Like this is a good film. Like nah. This is. It is a really good movie. It is well made. It is well cast. Leaseydoux is a great actress. She's always been a great actress, but like, she plays. I'll say this much: it's nothing I haven't seen before, but I'm not mad at it because it's done. What she does with this character isn't anything I haven't seen before, and like the sense that this character is sexy but weird. And, this character is sexy and weird, whereas in like various other roles, it'll be like this character is sexy and it's not this woman's fault. It's like, it's just that this is what the script sometimes calls for. We need the actress to be really sexy and nail the lines. But in this one, it's a case of this character is sexy and weird. She's very, like, the world, except to us. The character is weird to us, and the stuff she does is weird to us. But the way she approaches it is like a surgeon would work on an operating table. It's like a surgeon, if surgeons were, I don't know, performing in front of a theater packed with people. There's that bit of showmanship of like, ta-da. Not like, ta-da, but like they pull the cape back and have a grand reveal. It's like, yeah, I just made this incision. I am now removing the tumor. And it's like, I present it to you, like for all of you to see. And she's like, she doesn't say that, but it's kind of like that. There's this showmanship, but there's also this like seriousness that it's like a surgeon who's I don't know. I can't quite describe it. There's a uniqueness here. This movie is tough to explain. It's tough to watch too, but it's good. You'll If you enjoy body horror type movies, you'll like this. If you want some horror, like this movie will trying to scare you and riddled with jump scares and loud noises, this ain't for you. But this is a well-made sci-fi body horror movie. And I'll just say that, man. It's well made. It's well written. The actors do a good job. Viggo Mortensen as Saul, his character is this. You'd buy him as an artiste. Let me just say that much. You wouldn't buy his art. I don't think you can buy his art, given that it's a piece of his body that he's cutting out. But you would. But you do believe him when he plays the role of the artiste in this movie. Yeah, and like Lea Seydoux' character, she helps him and she operates the device that allows him to be on this basically a one person operating table. She operates the machines that slice him open and present what's inside him to the rest of the world. It is what it is. The subplot about the new race of people that are seemingly coming up and how like the government is trying to find out what's going on here and keep it on the hush hush because people find out that there's a whole other species existing. Like this, it could be problematic. Let's just say that much. But yeah, it's I give this movie its props. It's definite 7 out of 10. I am running out of nice things to say. I keep saying like, "Hey man, Scott Speedman keeps popping up out of nowhere. Is he gonna do something?" And when he does do something, it's like, "Oh, I see. I see." It was a case of he keeps popping up in random places and not doing anything. It's just a case of we need you to remember that he's there, or you to so that when he does show up, you're not surprised. So we need you to remember that he's there. So we're gonna have him pop up at random spots throughout the film. Just be like, oh, by the way, there's a whole other story going on, not just this main story of Viggo Mortensen's character Saul and what's going on in his body and him needing to fix his like futuristic operating table or something. And then there's this like C plot. There's like this C story where like he can't eat anything or he's having trouble choking down food, and there's that gets resolved at the end. The story about the new race of people that gets resolved at the end. This story is it's a nice loop, a nice closed loop. And even right up until the ending, it's just so well made. I'll give it that, that up to the point where I'm like, if I was the director, I would end it right here and then it ends. Like that was good. That had me going. I was like, oh, it ended? Nice. Yeah, that's a good one right there. Like that's a yeah, so basically if it wasn't for that, if the movie kept going and he like looked at it and it's like, oh, I can eat now, or something like that, or if a title screen came up and it explained, oh, the government rounded up all the people and they silenced them and blah 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 and the happy ever after, that would have just brought the whole thing down. But the fact that the movie knew when to end, it was no longer than it needed to be, and it didn't feel compelled to set up an unnecessary sequel or anything like that. It's just a closed loop of a movie. I applaud that. Good job, Viggo Mortensen, Lea Seydoux, Kristen Stewart, Scott Speedman even, and especially shout out and good job to David Cronenberg himself. Man, what a movie. Them Cronenbergs be crazy with the body horror, man. Holy soap. That dude, I used to think if you had to make that, if you could make a movie like that, there was something deeply disturbing about you. But like, I don't know, man. It's just, hey, you do what you can. I mean, and this is something he can do better than anyone else in a way that's like, yeah, it's disturbing, very disturbing to look at for too long. But if you're gonna watch it like as a once off, you can look at it, be weirded out by it, but not so much that you're like recoiling and going, I don't want to watch any further. It's gross in a way that's like, ooh, that's just nasty. But you're still watching, you're still engaged with what's going on. You want to see where the story goes. And, I give it that much. It's got a lot going on to it. Definitely I would recommend this movie, but I recommend that you watch it once. Preferably don't watch it if you just ate, because there's a lot of body stuff. There's a lot of guts and, just morbid things. I do not recommend if well, there's considering the fact there's a lot of scenes with like surgical stuff and like cutting, and if you're squeamish around blood and you're squeamish around like that kind of thing, and I would not suggest it in that case. Be warned. It does have, it might have some triggering aspects to it in regards to, those kind of things. But otherwise, this has been the Moonlight Kingdom reviews of Crimes of the Future, the 2022 sci-fi body horror directed by David Cronenberg. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all them nice things. I've been your Moonlight Kingdom, and I'm out. Editor's note, the movie does feature glamorizations and depictions of self-harm. So I just should warn you that. Also, that was not Melissa Barrera. Have the day you wish to have.